peace, greetings, grand blessings, all that good stuff. I am also hell of a healer, and I wanted to come to you all today just to give a little insight into more of what I do, and more of like I was talking about with the Nipsey video I did for his birthday yesterday. If you tune into my live on Twitter, whenever you see this, today is August the 16th, 2020. I made a video on August the 15th, 2020 for Nipsey Hussle's birthday, and I dropped some gems, and that was on my Twitter. So if you're not following me, you should follow me at Hell of a Healer. Got that out the way. So I spoke on a couple of things I just wanted to gain clarity on. I guess give clarity to you all, and some other things kind of popped up in my sight that I've seen being touched on or spoken on in different ways, and on different platforms. So I feel like, well, it must be a reason why these things are coming up. So let's go ahead and talk about it, I'm not going to make this long though. I hope YouTube doesn't like take me off because of my music. Let me turn that down. Okay. They be pressed. But yeah, so basically I was saying, like, with my cards and whatnot, I practice cardology and I practice cardomancy, but I study electromagnetism and I study astromagnetism and I study bibliomancy and I study arithmomancy or arithmancy. It's different things that are tools that are used to help you navigate through this existence. And these are the same tools, astrology, astronomy, that were used in, quote unquote, biblical times, and that are mentioned in these books. And these are things that were used to have great discoveries, such as the Magi or the three wise men using the stars to navigate and locate Jesus, of Nazareth, sweet little baby Jesus. So, it's a lion behind me. It's Bob Marley, but it's a little lion right here. So just want to show that out. And that's not a sun. Well, I don't know. This looks like the sun was shining on it. That's what just like threw me off. That's why I mentioned it, because it caught my attention. But these things, my point is, these things are not bad. And I believe that there are tools that have been used in unfortunate ways, but that is the case with everything. And we have undeniable alchemy. We have to understand that there's natural law and universal laws that exist, whether we know it or not. Whether we acknowledge them or not, they're always in play. So we have to understand and interpret what they are in our modern times as well. So you have to know who you are and understand what you actually are, and your body, and what's in your body, and what the different layers are, and we have to understand, like, what are we in? Like, what is this? A lot of people just think we just noodles just floating in a pot of water. Like, what do you think you just out here just to get spaghetti? So, it's all energy, so how does you have to think of like how things keep moving. It's just you have to time keeps on spinning. What song is that? It goes, time keeps on spinning. Yeah, so that is basically which you have to understand. And then you have to also understand there are tools and there are books and whatnot. That's why they have like burning of the books. They do these things to keep information away from you, right? So I've seen this hashtag, well, not even seen a hashtag. I watched this video popped up and it was Conjure Queen talking about on YouTube talking about look for the hashtag New Age to Jesus. And she said that she noticed that there was a trend of it. And she just posted this like 2 days ago. And so she noticed there was a trend of the type of videos that were being like made or whatever and spoken on. So I was like, okay, let me see what she's talking about. So I found some other testimonies. Like I found so I guess the algorithm now is like, it was like a year ago, like it was more of those videos. And like now it's like the people that are making videos. And after Conjure Queen said, when you do make a video, tag or use this headline or whatever. So I'm seeing that. And I'm like, okay, so basically, it's like people, the initial videos were like people telling their story of like them being delivered from like witchcraft and tarot cards and stuff like that, and yoga and whatnot. And then the newer videos are like the videos saying, well, I'm spiritual and I do this and that. And so I'm like, okay, so I guess it's like I see they're using the same title to say the opposite of what the other is saying. And it's just very interesting how media works and algorithms and whatnot, what pops up. But at the end of the day, like I said, you really just got to understand like who you are and what we are in here and what tools are. I feel like a lot of people are new to these tools and they haven't put in the work behind the scenes to do the research and understanding and the real life application, to really see it. And they pick these things up because it's a trend or, they, whatever the case is. I can't even tell you, and I'm not here to like judge anybody or condemn anybody rather. But it is what it is. I feel like a lot of people ain't put in the work to figure out these things and haven't had the experiences. So it is a little mixture of, some BS going on, okay? Can't deny that. However, I don't agree with necessarily saying that because you have a certain background that because you have a certain background that it is only to the depth of your understanding. So just because you're a Christian and you grew up going to, like I don't want to say what kind of sect, just you grew up going to like I can't even think, just some little, like not even Baptist, but some little church or whatever. You went to go into that church and they didn't get that deep in it. They didn't get that deep basically in the scripture and whatnot and tell you how you were supposed to actually read this book. They didn't get into, how to understand the scripture and what these different words mean and phrases mean and meant in that time, and what the actual language and laws of the land that they were in. They didn't really give you that information so you can be prepared to read the book in that mind frame and that understanding. So yeah, look at it from that part, like that's where they failed too. And so that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not denying, my background is Christian and I'm thankful. I went to AME Zion Church, that's African Methodist Episcopal Church. So I never saw a white Jesus, Only time I did see a white Jesus is when like I had great grandparents that were Catholic, and my great grandfather actually was Baptist, but he converted because he was with my great grandmother or whatever. So but my papa, he was the first, like in the 70s, to leave the church or whatever. And so he started going to he chilled out, but he started going to like AME Zion Church or whatever, more like black minister churches or whatever. So and I remember like growing up in the church, and I enjoyed it, you know, and I'm thankful for it because I had a different upbringing than a lot of people. Like I knew I knew my background, and that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like I had different experiences growing up, so I had things that were innate within me. I didn't have to really question certain things because it was natural. And then so I feel like when it was a time where I got into stuff where it was like, you know, I started seeing things more with a more mature eye growing up, and it was like, I don't really like how they're making that seem like it is. You know, I started going to church on my own, and I didn't like what I was really seeing or being led to believe, or you know, seeing in there. And I'm just like, man, you know. So I had different experiences, and I asked, like, if you real, Jesus, let me know, because you know, I ain't feeling this. I ain't feeling this shit. Like, you know, whatever. But I had to have a real conversation because I was going through some stuff, and I was just like, I feel like I got my karma before I even ever did anything. So I had to understand, like, what the fuck is happening right now. And, you know, I talk like that. I be thinking people be making shit real deep, too deeper, you know, so it is deep. Don't get me wrong, but they just be on some other shit. They don't even know. So anyway, you know, I went through this whole journey for like 10 years. Had to figure out a whole bunch of stuff. I lost a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I went through a whole ass transition. And I asked for it, though. I asked for it. And I realized, like, this year, things that I asked for, I had to realize the ways I've been shown these things throughout the time frame. And mind you, this is like before the shift. So this was like 2010, 2011. And 2010. I went through some things, and I asked some questions, and a lot of people who follow me, they've seen like my journey, and they know who I am, or how I can be, and how I used to be, and stuff like that. So they tell me, you know what I'm saying, they see it. But aside from that, like, I know, like, what I was doing back then, I had even no clue. Like, those paintings, if you follow my pages, you'll see me talking about the paintings and stuff I made. I didn't know what I was doing, but things were coming through me. Like, you know, things are being channeled through me for different reasons, and it's just a matter of, I had the basic foundations, you know, to arm me spiritually. And a lot of people don't have that, because they are so quick to denounce these different, I don't even want to say theologies, but these different practices and beliefs. And you got to think, like, why these people believe in these things? You know, so, like, you're not even curious to figure out why they believe in these things. So that's your own discernment. You got to pay for the spirit of discernment. And, you know, it's generational. I could say that. But it comes to a point where you got to take responsibility for your mature and adult self and say, well, I know I didn't learn this, I wasn't shown this, but I got to figure this out myself. And, you know, it was things that I was shown and I saw growing up, like, even like my cards or whatever. Like, I didn't always practice my cards, but I always was playing with my cards. Like, I always was like a little magician. I always was playing with magnets. I was always doing shit like that. But I didn't know, like, I was going to end up doing this, making this video, looking like this, talking to y'all right now just because I felt like it, because I don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? But aside from that, like, I didn't really think that I would be, like, so, like, I don't even want to say, like, in love with it, but I could talk about this stuff all day because it is my life, and I see how it applies and how to apply it to other tools to get the whole picture. And I never went to a school to learn cardology or cardomancy or anything. Like I was saying, like, I saw my family, I saw you know, the women in my family have these cards and play with them and play solitaire and stuff like that, and things just line up. Like, they, you know, I would always, as a child, play with cards, and I would always lay the whole deck out. I would always lay the whole deck out, and I was like, I want to make a game up, I want to do this and that. Like, I would always just do stuff like that. So it's not really a surprise, I guess, to me that I'm into it, but it's just like, wow, like, I'm doing it now more so for the public, and that is the difference. Like, you know, I always would keep some cards on me, people know, but like, doing it for y'all and being comfortable with it, because I know, like, I'm not doing it just because it's a trend, or like just because, like, you know, whatever. Like, no, I really understand. That's funny. She just said, hold on. Y'all probably couldn't hear, but when I said understand, she said understand. And that's what be happening. All the alignment or whatever, all the time. But anyway, that just be sizing me. But it's like little different things like that. And I had synchronicities that were like showing me like, you know, Yahweh. And I had to understand like, what is it? You know, these tools, these crystals, you know, this energy, these things we have crystals inside of us, you know what I'm saying? It's different light energy that we have. So I had to understand that these terminologies that were used back then don't mean what we think they are now. So you got to understand etymology. You got to read with these different types of understanding. And a lot of people don't take that time. Dang, this song is right on time. A lot of people don't take that time to learn. So, and y'all know, like, I don't know. I'm fairly private, but yeah, I just don't like people in my business, and I don't like explaining. I don't like explaining nothing to nobody, and I don't like nobody feeling like I gotta explain something to them, because it's like, okay, now, I don't feel like talking. I really don't feel like talking. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't need that energy. So, but I really, like I said, I could talk about this, and I don't care who knows, because I feel like I'm using it properly. I feel like, to my understanding, it's different ways, and you don't have to just use the Bible to fit whatever your belief is. You want to use the Quran, but the point is, you have to understand that these scriptures were written specifically, and that there were certain languages that we don't understand that were used back then, and certain ways to translate them that we don't even know, that, you know, because the etymology of it has changed. So we don't even really understand what a parable really is. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to really just use what is naturally here, you know, the elements and geometry, these things that we learn in school, chemistry, they're like so watered down. The 7 liberal arts, you know, they're watered down versions of what was used in the past, and why these books were burned and everything. So, like, in the reading I was saying for Nipsey, when I did the video for Nipsey's birthday yesterday, the spirit I got was basically saying that we all need to really just help one another and come together. And I'm gonna wrap it up on this note, because I really didn't want to make this video on this specifically, but I was checking like America's spread for like where they're actually sitting in this year of being 244, and basically it was tied into like where their spread for this year is what the spread for this year is being supported by basically the same cards that I pulled yesterday. So I have to do another video to explain what I mean by that. That's what I was saying. I wasn't trying to get into that right now, but basically the squares for the spread for this year of America being 244 years old, the square for the natural life spread is supporting them, right? But that spread is the same cards that I pulled yesterday. See, I ain't planning to make this video. But anyway, like I said, I'll plan to make the other one so I can explain what I just said. But yeah, I wanted to say something else. So I ain't want this video to be more than 20 minutes, and I got like 1 minute left. All right, well, I guess that's going to be that. Basically, I was saying, yeah, we got to work together, you know, and it's going to be times, you know, like I said, the storms or whatever is going to come through, and that's what the spread was saying, but that's why I brought it up. But, you know, the goal is that maturity. We got to mature through it. So, and that's why I say it's perfect timing, because times of wasting is on. So we're going to have to like go through some things, like I was saying, but it's really opportunity in the storm. There's going to be shutdowns. The market going to crash. You know what I'm saying? Like October is really going to be time, because it's a 9 of diamonds around that time. So, but it's also, like I said, opportunity for us to come up in that. And we got the 4 diamonds sitting somewhere, I think in Neptune. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's in Uranus. It's the 4 diamonds in Uranus. That's the ancestors card. So it's going to rain on us. We're going to get them blessings. We just got to work together. A lot of people doing their products. A lot of people, you know, expanding their network, doing different types of self-education and tech work, technology. You know, I spoke on the Jack of Clubs yesterday, Nipsey's birthday. He was very into technology and cryptology, cryptocurrency. We got to get into these things to understand. We got to keep our information sacred in different ways that we have to share it. And that's also why I really don't write stuff down too, because this is really to be spoken in certain ways. It's not really supposed to be like, it's sacred, you know what I'm saying? There's different ways to share the information for interpretation in different ways. So we're gonna get into all of that. We have to. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. Like I said, I ain't really go to school for none of this. I just felt like I've seen it all my life, and I wanted to share it with y'all so we can understand how to understand one another, because this is natural. I didn't want anybody to feel like, you know, it's bad, it's scary, it's negative, it's demonic. Like, oh, spirituality is not love and light. Like, you know, priests and whatnot, they take your information, like when you do them confessionals, and they log it. You know what I'm saying? So they know what's what. they research, take whatever you said and go figure out, send somebody to go figure out what the fuck you was talking about. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, they know this stuff is real, and people want to water it down so that you can continue to go back to the church. And that's why people leave the church. But you just can't be out here floating like just a wet noodle out here. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be al dente. I'm gonna wrap it up on that.